Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is, as you will know, this is your favorite program on TV, everywhere, on all channels, and this is our education exchange. And I don't know how to start this because every time I say it's a special night, people say, oh, every night is a special night for you. But this is really the special night because I am introducing Tate High. Very special place for me. 20 years I was there. So if you add them 6 more, that's my age, 26 years. 20 of them I spent in at your school. And I have the best memories. Some of my memories are exceptionally good. Some of them are painful. But it was quite an experience, I tell you. You have a very special place. And I'm happy that when I left in good hands. So on my right side is Kristina Brown. Kristina, I know Jesse, when we were talking before the show, and I was trying to introduce you as guidance counselor, and he said, well, yeah, everything. She's everything. So we'll start from there, from you being a guidance counselor, and then we go from there to the other job descriptions that are not included in your guidance counselor. And to your right side is the leader, the big leader, Anne Browning, that I still say we. Yeah. That we at Tate High won from City High,
right?
Where you were an associate principal there, and you were doing a marvelous job. And I think Tate High was fighting to get you there, and they got you, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And to your right side is Jesse Smith, the guy who is represent the real new generation of alternative educators.
Right.
So I think I cannot say more because I'm a little bit emotional now. And it's, as I said, a very special place, and my heart is left for Tate High. So maybe you tell me what's on your menu tonight for our audience.
Yeah, I think we really just would like to share all the nice changes that we're making at Tate and with the students, the staff and the students. We talked about our vision and where we'd like to go, and devoted a lot of our professional development with the students and staff with a little bit of PBIS, but just finding that vision and something that we can connect with.
What's PBIS?
So, well, PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, and it's a program. It's research-based, and we went to a national conference and learned a lot about it. Fortunately, Jesse, who we hired, he moved back from Colorado, and he came and he's had a lot of experience with PBIS from his other school, and he's been a real leader on this committee in helping us. But what PBIS does is bring about a focus on all the positive things the students are doing. And as part of our committee of students, we decided that Tate needed a not only a motto, but almost an identification. So the students decided to go with the Tate Warriors, because every day they feel like they have their own unique battles to fight, and they feel like they're courageous, just like warriors. And so that stuck. It really worked with us. So, and the staff liked it too, because everyone, all the unique battles that they fight, we're there to help them. So we decided to become the Tate Warriors. But then next we had to come up with, well, what do we value? What are the core values of a warrior? And we went with C.O.R.R, being C.O.R.R, so it's like caring, ownership, respect, and responsibility. So every day the staff point out, I really like the way you're being caring. That was really caring. Or thanks for taking ownership to that behavior. If a student gets sent to the office for having some behavior issues, we're not there to punish them. We're just there, did you recognize what you did, and can you take ownership to that? And okay, great, let's make amends and move on with our day. It's just a bleep in the day, and then we try and move on, and then we praise them for showing respect and responsibility in all areas. But our staff is working really hard because you just can't assume they know that. So we're teaching them throughout the day, in the office, in the parking lot, in the hallway, in the cafeteria, what does CORE look like in the classrooms and with each other. And so we're really focusing on just teaching that explicitly, and it's working. It's really a positive environment to be around.
When you were talking about warriors, of course you were focusing on the positive.
Yeah.
The Paul Revere kind of warrior, right?
Right.
The liberator, the fighter for rights and so forth. Longfellow came up with this wonderful piece. Maybe you can use Paul Revere as a symbol of warriors who are really made history.
Right.
This Colorado connection is amazing. I just noticed that when I first came to this country, like some 30 some years ago, Colorado was not really a very, let's say, at-risk community. But now it's one of the hottest in the country. Can you, and you had experience there.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on that, especially, considering what happened recently there?
Sure. You are correct in saying that, demographics have changed all over the country, within the past decade. I think the thing that affected Colorado a lot was just immigration. There's a lot of factory jobs, a lot of meat packing plants, things like that, a lot of agriculture. So it did bring a lot of immigrants. And that's created its own special type of teaching where, there's a lot of English as a second language. The population that I taught in was at a Title I school, so most of the students were on a free and reduced lunch. And they came with a variety of different backgrounds, some from immigrant families, also some from just transient families, just families, with these economic times being down, having a tough time making it and having to move quite often. So we'd, have students at 6 or 7 different elementaries by the time they were 8 years old, or, something like that. By the time they got to high school, they were, most of them over a dozen schools in their lifetime. So, along the way, it creates gaps in learning, moving, and also doesn't create very much structure for the child. So a way that we used PBIS was to create some structure in there, create some basic understanding of how you conduct yourself in the classroom and how you conduct yourself in life to be productive citizens. And I think the school that I taught at, and we set it up, we really took our time and made sure we did it the right way. And it really created a more positive environment. Parents felt a lot more free to come into the school and participate, knowing that we really cared for their children. So I think that has helped the situation out there, and I think it's around the whole country. I think that's what education is going towards, is being more of a support for families, and this is just one way that we can provide that support and structure.
We will come back to you again to explain. I think you have a PowerPoint that you prepared as a committee, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I would like to ask you, I know that this program is implemented differently between I know that other schools have it too, but each school does it in a different way. How it's different at Tate?
I think from the very beginning with PBIS, we had the students involved. We had them telling us their ideas, what they want to see happen at Tate. I think too, we're implementing it full force with tickets and giving out rewards for caring and ownership, responsibility, and respect. Really kind of getting a community together of Tate warriors and just what can we do to make our little community better, but also help the students learn, and this is the right way to act and teach them these behaviors. And they're enjoying it. Students enjoy it. They want to get those tickets. They want to get rewarded for the positive behaviors that they are exhibiting instead of kind of always being told the things that they're doing wrong.
And I know that your philosophy is really, they are adopting this philosophy now at the district, which is student-centered.
Right.
Can you talk more about this? Because now you get the kids to decide what kind of program they like, or how they. I think that you empower them by doing this, right?
Right.
You give them a lot of self-actualization and self-confidence and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And they've taken some ownership, and kind of central to PBIS is also our Student Advisory Center, where when they do have issues or conflicts, we have a full-time staff member that is there and ready to work with them and teach them those skills of mediation and reconciliation. So it works really well. And I think the students have bought into it. They realize, oh, that wasn't bad. Okay, yeah, I can own up to that. And then they like, I can go back to class now? And we're like, yeah, go ahead and go on about your day.
Let me jump in here. One
Yeah.
thing I do want to say about that in Miss Browning's, one of the changes she put in is when a student does have a difficult period or maybe they're having a bad morning, it doesn't mean the rest of the day is ruined. And it doesn't mean that kids are getting sent home or anything like that. Our goal is to keep as many kids in school as possible, and this is just a way that gets them to reflect on some of the things that are going on in school, going on in their life, and being able to talk with a trusted adult and share that with them, and it gets that bonding experience with them, so they know we're on their side, and that just because you made one mistake doesn't mean the rest of the day's ruined. They can go back to class and have a successful day, and right away, as soon as they get back to class, we're trying to point out the positive things that they're doing to try to turn it around, because we don't want to create this everybody's against me type of mentality. I'm a victim. We want to create this, hey, I can struggle through this, I made a mistake, but I can learn from it.
Or if you send them home, you know that they are not going to go home. They are going to be hanging in downtown, and actually you set them up for mistakes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Before we go back to your area that you are going to explain to us, I would like you to shed some light upon other activities that you provide.
Great, thanks, because we do have a lot of great things going on. I'll start with the office staff. Christina's been a great addition and always full of great ideas, and she's really helped us to organize the schedules for the kids and really make it unique to them. They can decide, do I want to do all of my classes, here, teacher taught, or online, and she helps them along with Mark Jensen as our workplace coordinator. He helps kids find jobs in the community, and they can get credit for working in the community as well. Monica Fetter is our mental health case manager, and definitely helps connect the kids to services and students and their families to services in the community. And our nurse is vital to helping us throughout the day. And then we also have the culinary arts program, ProStart, in the afternoons for 2 full periods. It's a full year backed by the Restaurant Association. So the students are really earning these valuable skills. And then once they do the whole year, they end up with a certificate and can be employed by most any restaurant because they're learning all the sanitary rules and the safety and the cooking as well. And that's going well. And then just the curriculum. I mean, the teachers are so creative and they work so hard.
How many teachers do you have?
We have 11 teachers.
11?
Yeah. And they work so hard. They try and make the curriculum unique. They make modifications, accommodations, because, Tate serves so many different types of students with maybe anxieties or some other mental health issues. We have students who are credit deficient and need to make up a lot.
So let us see, who teaches English?
We have Kate Ritchie and Jan Smith and Jessie Smith.
Okay. And social studies?
Is Tara Herod. And then in science, we have Sean Donovan. And math, we have Brian Helt, and then also Jessie teaches math as well.
And in art?
In art, we have Dan Kinney and Uli Gurwich, and they
And Jessie again.
And then Jan Smith has also taken over as our media specialist and done a wonderful job transforming our library and bringing us into the 21st century with lots of new updates.
We also
Thank
have
you.
Jennifer Danielson, who teaches social studies
And special ed.
I think I did visit your school a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I see you don't lose your nerves at all. I mean, you're always having this kind of subtle smile. And there is a trouble in that class, but you go there so softly, deal with these problems. How do you keep your nerves like that? Is it a training or what?
I do. I have 12 years experience in mental health, and I've worked in the mental health system, residential, worked with a lot of adults and children that had severe mental illness, and you kind of have to be prepared to handle any kind of crisis situation that comes up.
Use a smile eventually.
Yes, I try to use a smile or humor, or
Yeah.
give respect, but also just kind of be very straightforward with what I expect. And I've had a lot of crisis prevention intervention training.
Well, it needs a special character to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you select your team?
Yeah, in the interview process, it's important, when you're talking, I'm looking for somebody who is patient, has the knowledge, first of all. Looks like, a really knowledge base. But also, you just sense it. You can just sense in the person when you're talking to them. Are they accommodating? Are they going to be able to forgive and let's start the next day over, fresh? A lot of consistency and I guess an understanding that these kids are learning different skills. Along with the curriculum, they have to learn a lot of the social skills as well. And if they're willing to do that, I don't paint a pretty picture. I lay it out. This is, can be frustrating at times, and I just try and get a sense of their commitment to not only teaching the academic skills, but the social skills along with it.
Super. Now, why don't you take the floor and now give us some highlights about the program?
Well, I think we first started having this conversation about the PBI system at the beginning of the year, and that we were going to be receiving some professional development and training on it. So the first training we did take quite a few staff. We had about 5 there, 5 or 6, and then we had a group of students that were with us too. So as Ms. Browning was saying before, they helped us select the core message, and then what those things would stand for. What are the characteristics of a warrior? So we had a lot of student input, and the students got trained along with the staff on what this looks like, and were able to make some pretty meaningful contributions. Some of the posters they made, some of the rewards and things that they're working towards that would motivate them, they picked. So they were a real integral part of this. So we started with C.O.R.R as our kind of motto or credo, and that stands for caring, ownership, respect, and responsibility. We can go to the next slide. So what exactly is PBIS? It's school-wide, so it focuses on every student in every place, in every situation that they're in. It is also research-based, so we do keep data on this as far as how many rewards they're getting, if they're getting sent to the SAC and what they're getting sent for, so we can look at, if a student needs help with because they're behind on work, or maybe they're having an issue with a certain student or other behavior issues. That way we can really focus on and zero in on that assistance. Okay, next slide. So your I guess normal high school or not alternative high school, it's going to show about that this universal instruction will work for about 80% of the students.
By normal you mean comprehensive, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So with, according to the demographics and everything, there's going to be about that 5 to 15% students, which we call in the yellow zone, which are going to need some additional assistance. And then you have about that 5% that are going to need some really big support, some behavior plans. This also works in conjunction with the academics. So the same thing, 80% of the kids aren't really going to need much support. 5 to 20 are going to need a little bit of support, or 5 to 15, and then that 1 to 5 are going to need, full support with resource teachers and things like that. That's when they'd be on IEP.
Is it different from Boys Town? I think you're familiar with Boys Town program, right? With the 3 colors. that's a little different.
It is
right?
different. They do
Yeah.
use this color system. Ours, this again, this at alternative high school, we're going to see a lot less of the green zone, a lot more of the yellow, and probably a little bit bigger of the red. And that's where, when students come to Tate, we introduce them to this and kind of see what level they're on. And again, keep the data. So if we know if it's a yellow student, we're going to need to give that student more support. If it's a student that's in the red, they're going to need
I'm sorry,
a lot more support.
Jesse, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to interrupt this for a moment. Maybe we need to tell some of the audience that are not familiar with Tate, what's Tate, and because we keep talking about Tate as presuming that people know what
Yeah.
an alternative school is.
Yeah.
What's Tate, and why we say comprehensive and Tate?
Right.
What?
Well, Tate is our alternative high school, and you know how West High is where excellence is a tradition, and City High is the school that lead. We like to consider Tate as the school of choice, where students are given a broader choices. They can decide to do their classes online or within the community and get credit, or teacher-taught classes.
Do you have a program online?
We do.
What's the name
We
of
also
it?
have a
Phoenix?
program, it's called the Phoenix program, and that takes place after school from 3 to 6. And it's for students mainly 18 to 21 who'd like to finish their high school diploma. And they're working full-time, and so they can do that online. And so we have a full-time staff member, Kate Ritchie, who staffs that from 3 to 6. And Mark Jensen helps out as well, tutoring, and he does outreach into the community to get kids back and to finish their diploma.
Yeah, this guy has a legacy, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, has been forever
Yes.
working
Yeah.
with kids.
So lots of options, lots
Okay.
of choices, and again, alternative. We again, the teachers work hard to accommodate. We try not to do too much homework at night because most of our kids hold down full-time jobs. They're living on their own. Many are parents, and so yeah, they're.
Well, thank you for that. And go back to Jesse.
Sure,
because,
you can go to the next slide.
Yeah. Next slide, please.
So the main logic with PBIS is all students need behavior support, no matter what their background is. And the biggest part of that is the explicit instruction behavior. A lot of times students are told, hey, we need you to be more caring, we need you to be more respectful or show responsibility. But if those terms haven't been defined, what our expectations are, how do they know where that line is? So we want to make it more structured, more black and white for them instead of having this gray area. So students know, when we're praising them, what they're getting praised for. If they're having a problem, why or what that is, what that looks like. So it's very explicit instruction.
Jesse, I have a little question for you. I know that we're about to run out of time, but it's important to ask you this question. In alternative education, when I was serving there, usually when you go to a young lady or a young man and say, oh, you are doing so well, I am praising you, and you keep complimenting them for doing a good job. Eventually, after that, they go down. And it happened with me that I asked them, why after you got an A and suddenly you don't attend? Everybody would say, yeah, I want to be cool, I just don't want to be like singled out as nerd or as, geek or
Right.
whatever. So do you face
Yeah.
this problem?
So one of the concerns I think that high schools have with implementing the PBIS system is like, oh, high schoolers aren't going to go for these tickets. So they get a ticket, like if you're saying they were being good, well, we're really specific on what was good. We just don't say good job. We say, hey, you did a great job showing caring by helping that student pick up papers that they dropped or something like that. So we're very specific when we talk to them about what we're praising them for. And thanking them for that.
Yeah, and the students want to get the tickets because
Yeah.
they want to get the
Yeah, of
prizes for the daily drawings. We have 9 daily drawings each day, and they want those tickets. So I don't think we've seen a problem with the students feeling like they're uncool.
It's been pretty nice, and we are at the beginning, and we do expect after a little while it will lose its kind of nuance, and that's when we will switch up different prizes or rewards. There's a lot of different things we can do. We can ask the students what else they'd like. We can do different, like, okay, monthly goals or weekly goals
Okay.
for the students. So you got to
Yeah.
constantly switch it up to create the motivation.
So
to keep
let
going.
us, because I think I see Alex, our floor director here, keep flashing these minutes.
Sure.
So let us run through the rest of your.
Sure,
yeah.
we can just run through real quick. We can pass this one. Again, one thing that other schools have done, and everybody falls into the trap in education, is trying to get tougher, maybe the zero tolerance and things like that. And that's not what this program teaches. It teaches tolerance. It accepts that students will make mistakes, but that's the time to teach. You just don't throw a student out on their own. That's the time to get down on their level and talk to them about what's going on. The student, you said that was doing great, and then all of a sudden slid down. Well, from our data, the data that we keep, we can catch that right away, and the earlier we catch that, the more impact we can have. And Tate being an alternative school, we have a lot of different resources with mental health, with different programs around the city to assist parents or students, so we can bring in these supports and identify them early by keeping the data and staying on top of that. So that's been nice. We can move on.
We should mention Maria Thompson does a lot of the data,
Yeah.
runs the
Yes.
SAC. I didn't mention her earlier.
Yeah.
She does a great job.
We also have Mecca, too.
Yeah, Mecca
and
supports.
4 Oaks that come in
Oh, yeah.
weekly.
So one thing, just to get tough, it doesn't really work with the students. They start not liking class. They start, skipping class and not wanting to be at school. So we want to create an environment where they feel safe and is more positive.
Maybe can we mention the clubs? Because
Yeah.
we're almost done. So
Yeah.
then right in the middle of the day, right before lunch on Thursdays, the students get to choose a club activity they want to be involved in. And that's been a great success. Book club, they can do athletics,
Mural.
art in the
Mural.
community.
Mural
so the mural is a
paintings,
huge
yeah.
thing. We've been to field trips. We took the students down to the Sycamore Mall to see the show The Bully. We've been to the Englert Theater twice and then to the university for another performance. We're doing a lot more things. And
Well,
Excited.
I would love to have you more than that, but Mr. John Karhoff is our the big guy here, and I want him to keep hiring me and paying me the big bucks as usual. So I have to wrap it up and just tell you that this is going to be on Saturday, next Saturday at 2:30. And it will be at 7 o'clock on next Monday. And between now and next week, it will be on the channel 21. The first two that I mentioned are on channel 18. That's public access TV, this channel. And I thank them for the help they are giving us to open this chance for us. Tomorrow evening will be on YouTube. Will be in cyberspace and will always go viral, always viral. So especially this program, this episode in particular. I just can't thank you more, or thank you enough.
Yeah,
But
thanks for having us.
we're happy that we're going. Anne Brown agreed with me that there will be another program in May,
right.
and maybe we'll shed more light upon points that we kind of overlooked or we didn't talk about now.
Highlight more of our students. They're
Yes.
amazing. They're
Yeah.
doing great things.
Always, they are leaders everywhere in the community now. So we are so proud of you, the job you're doing. Thank you, Mr. John Karhoff, Mr. Mike Peterson, Alex. Alex is our camera and the studio audience that are watching us now.
That's right.
So